everybody, welcome to Top Growth Financial. I'm Josh, and today we're going to be going over retirement planning. We thought that this was going to be a super important video to go over because there's a retirement crisis right now in the United States. Nearly half of all Americans say they don't have enough money set aside to maintain their standard of living after they're done working. And that's a big problem, and we don't want that for you. We're hoping that you're younger watching this video. If you're a little bit older, perfectly fine. We hope that you just start investing right after you're done watching this video. And there's multiple options that are available to you. You can either invest in a 401k plan that your employer provides for you, or an IRA. And my personal favorite is a Roth IRA, and I'm going to be going over that in more detail later. But first, let's start with the 401k plan, which Mitch is going to take you away on that.
A 401k is one of the most common retirement savings and investment plans, and it is offered by your employer. So you would dedicate a certain portion of each paycheck to be put into this retirement account. Now, not all employers offer this investment plan. In fact, about 56% of employers in the US offer a 401k. But don't worry, we'll cover other retirement options as well later in this video. One of the best features of a 401k account is that oftentimes employers will actually offer to match what you decide to invest into your 401k account per paycheck. Typically it's either a dollar for a dollar or 50 cents on the dollar up to a certain percentage of your paycheck. And that's a great deal because if it's dollar for dollar, that's an automatic 100% return on investment. Even 50 cents on the dollar, that's automatic 50% return on investment. Typically, most employers will offer to match between 2 to 5% of your paycheck that you invest into your 401k account. Another great perk of this 401k account is that these contributions are taken out of your paycheck before the IRS takes its cut. So before your paychecks are taxed. So when it goes into your 401k account, it is not yet taxed. This will then lower your taxable income at the end of the year. So for instance, if you made $60,000 this year and you put aside $15,000 of it into your 401k account, you are now only going to be taxed on a $45,000 income. This is a great feature because you'll be paying less in taxes at the end of each year. You also don't have to pay taxes on your investment growth while it is in your account either. So as long as you don't take it out of your account, that growth plus your contribution won't be taxed while it's still in your account. Once you retire and you start to pull out that money from your 401k account, that's when it'll start to be taxed as taxable income on your initial contributions and then investment growth over time. So now I'm going to take you through how and when you can withdraw that money from your 401k account. Okay, so here we have ways to withdraw money from your 401k without penalty. So the most common instance is when you begin to withdraw your money out of your account after age 59 and a half and after you have retired. There's also an age 55 exception, which states that after age 55, you can begin to withdraw that money as long as you have retired. The age 50 exception states that you can begin withdrawing money out of your account after age 50 as long as you have retired from a job in a public safety profession such as police, firefighters, or emergency medical services. Another instance is if the owner of that 401k account passes away. You can see here their beneficiaries are able to take the distributions from the 401k account without penalty. And when I say without penalty, it's a 10% penalty, not including it being taxed. And the same goes for disability. So if you are totally and permanently disabled by IRS definition, then you may take out those distributions without penalty. Okay, so here you can see we have a couple more exceptions. First off, if you have high medical expenses, whether it's for yourself, your spouse, or a qualified dependent, depending on the situation, you may be able to withdraw a certain portion of your 401k without penalty. Another instance is in the case of divorce. So if it is required that you have to assign or divide a portion of your assets from your 401k account to your former spouse, then this withdrawal as well will be penalty free. Another instance is the Roth IRA conversion, and as you can see here, what that is when you convert your funds from a 401k plan to a Roth IRA. Josh will cover what a Roth IRA is a little bit later in this video, but there's a couple reasons you might want to do this Roth IRA conversion. For one, if at some point in your life you just decide that the Roth IRA is the better path for you, then you can withdraw those funds from your 401k and put it into a Roth IRA. Another example would be if you are no longer working for that employer that you have the 401k account with, you can withdraw those funds and also put it in the Roth IRA. And lastly, there's birth or adoption. And you can withdraw up to $5,000 from your 401k account per child. Only after the child is born, or if it's adoption, after the adoption has been finalized. Now we're going to go to Josh to learn about the Roth IRA retirement option.
Okay, so a Roth IRA is an individual retirement account where you pay the taxes up front and then the withdrawals later on once you retire. They're going to be tax-free, which is going to save you a lot of money. The amount that you contribute to your Roth IRA, it's going to change periodically as time goes on. But as of right now, it's at $6,000, and it's going to go up to $7,000 as soon as you turn 50. It's kind of like a little catch-up if you don't start investing till later that you can take advantage of. But unfortunately, there is an income limit. If you make a little bit too much money, you're not going to be able to invest in a Roth IRA, unfortunately. But if you're making that much money, good for you. I'm sure that there's a lot of other options available for you. Those income limits are $140,000 for single individuals that are investing in a Roth IRA and $208,000 for a married couple. To start investing in a Roth IRA, you're going to have to find an institution that has been approved by the IRS, and this is normally going to be a banker or some type of investment brokerage. And I would recommend the brokerage and finding a good financial advisor that fits your needs, and also that works with you and your risk tolerance, and I'm sure that your financial advisor will discuss all that with you. So this is how I like explaining Roth IRAs to people. And I just made a little circle with arrows pointing in and out of it, and you see in that first arrow, it says up to $6,000 per year. That's your contribution that you can put in. The other arrow coming out is your withdrawal, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. So this graph here shows exactly what you can do with your Roth IRA. You have $6,000 a year to invest into this account, and in it you can include the investments of your choice based on the risk tolerance that you have, which you can discuss with your financial advisor, like I said earlier. These investments can include mutual funds, stocks, bonds, CDs, and money market funds. But those are just some examples. You could really include anything into that circle of your Roth IRA, and it's just a type of investment account. You could include really anything that you want in it, up to $6,000 per year. And the question that me and Mitch get asked a lot when it comes to Roth IRAs is, when can you withdraw your money? Can you withdraw any time? Are you forced to keep some of your contributions in there? How does it work? So the answer is you could take your initial investment out at any time. So let's say you put, say, $2,000 into your Roth IRA account last year and you got a 10% gain on that investment. You could take out the $2,000 at any time with absolutely no taxes or penalty, regardless of your age or how long you've been into that account. And this is known as a qualified distribution. But when it comes to withdrawing the account earnings, there is a catch. And the distribution of the account earnings, to be qualified, you have to have your funds in your account for at least 5 years. And this is where the 5-year rule comes in. And it's basically to show what qualified distributions are. And as you see, you can either take out your initial investment. If you have your money into the account for at least 5 years and you're at least 59 and a half years old, it's going to be completely tax-free with the earnings. Or you could pull it out to purchase or build your first home, but that's going to be limited to $10,000 per lifetime. So you can only do that once. It could also be for disability. If you get permanently disabled and you're not able to work anymore, you can pull out those earnings tax-free. It can also be used for an approved higher education for yourself, your spouse, or your children. And also, if the holder dies, in which case the assets are going to be distributed to the beneficiary of the Roth IRA's owner. If you haven't met the 5-year rule, then the withdrawal of your earnings might be subject to both taxes and a 10% penalty. So now, just to show you exactly how much you can make using your Roth IRA, I'm going to take you over some charts. I just used NerdWallet's Roth IRA calculator to help me figure out these numbers. And just to give you a little idea of how much money you could actually make investing into a Roth IRA, I just plugged in some numbers and I'm going to go over them with you right now. Okay, so if you start investing at age 18, as you see here, and you just invest $2,000 a year of the $600,000 max contribution, if you leave it in there until you're 67, which you could toy with this. Again, I use NerdWallet. You can go into their Roth IRA calculator, see how much money you could put in per month, and then just figure out exactly the amount of money that you want to have when you retire and what you need to put in to get there. And the more the merrier. But in this case, if you just put in $2,000 per year, starting at 18, you're going to end with $1.15 million. And that's a pretty substantial return. But now check this out. If you put the full $6,000 in, starting at age 18, you're going to end with $3.44 million, which is just awesome. You're going to be set no matter what. You could even use this as a last resort. Say everything else goes wrong in your life. You have no money until you retire, but you put away your $6,000 a year into your Roth IRA. Well, you're still going to be a multimillionaire. But I just wanted to show you the importance of getting started early. If you can, I would start right now, regardless of your age. But if you're younger, this is going to pay off substantially for you because you're going to have the compound effect. So just to show you how much of a difference it can make getting started a little bit earlier, if you start at 35 with $6,000 in per year, and you retire at the same 67-year-old retirement age with an 8% rate of return, you're only going to end up with $870,000, which granted it's still a lot of money, but if you just invested $2,000 a year, you'd have even more than that. You started when you were 18. So I would say no matter what age you're at, if you're 20, 30, 40, I would still start investing in that Roth IRA because the money that you put in, it's going to be taxed, but when you pull it out, it's going to be tax-free. Those advantages are really going to pay off for you. But with the advantage of the 401k is that you get that company match. And my advice to people is always, if you have that company match, always take it. But then anything past that, anything past what they will match, put it into a Roth IRA because the tax benefits are just going to be a little bit better for you.
So now we've learned about both the 401k plan and the Roth IRA. Now we're going to compare and contrast them to see which plan best suits your needs. So here we're going to look at them both side by side. And as you can see here up at the top, Josh stated earlier that the Roth IRA has a $6,000 contribution limit, $7,000 if you are age 50 or older. With the 401k, you can put in up to $19,500 per year, $26,000 for those age 50 or older. Okay, so starting off with the 401k, we're going to look at the pros first. And most importantly, there's that employer match if offered. And that's a great deal. It's free money. It's a great return on investment if offered. Then another one is that annual contribution limit. So you can put a lot more into a 401k per year than you can the Roth IRA. And also those contributions then create that lower taxable income at the end of each year. And lastly, eligibility is not limited by income. Now moving on to the cons, you can see here that you have little to no control over your plan and investment costs. So oftentimes employers will have a set broker and their investment strategy already in place, so you don't have much control over how you would like to invest your money. As well as the 401k offers a more limited investment selection than the Roth IRA does. Another downside, as you can see here, is that the distributions in retirement are taxed as ordinary income. So when you do decide to retire and you're pulling out your investments from your 401k plan, it will be taxed as taxable income. So unfortunately, we were not able to dodge those taxes. They were just put off until after retirement. And lastly, with the 401k, there is a required minimum distribution age. So at age 72, you do have to pull out a certain portion of your investment each year. Okay, so now looking over at the Roth IRA, we're going to look at the pros first. The first factor is going to be a larger investment selection, so you have more free range and ability to invest how you would like with a wider variety of options. Second, your qualified withdrawals are tax-free. So as Josh was saying earlier, your contributions are taxed as you put them into the Roth IRA. And the pro with that is that you have a lesser dollar amount being taxed at one time, so it's going to be taxed at a lower rate. So in the end, when you're withdrawing from that 401k account, when you take a lot of that money out at once, it's going to be taxed at a substantially higher rate than what these Roth IRA contributions will be taxed at. And speaking of those contributions, they can be withdrawn at any time. So you can't withdraw the growth on those contributions that you made, but your initial contributions that you put into the Roth IRA can be taken out at any time, whereas with the 401k, whatever's in there cannot be taken out without penalty before you retire. And lastly, with the Roth IRA, there's no required minimum distribution in retirement. So you can leave however much you'd like in there for as long as you'd like. It doesn't matter, you don't have to pull out at all if you don't want to. Okay, so now moving down to the cons, you can see the first point is the contribution limit. Looking up at the top of the chart, you can see that the Roth IRA's limit is actually less than a third of the 401k's contribution limit. Secondly, that Roth IRA does not offer that immediate tax benefit that the 401k does. So you're going to be taxed your full taxable income each year. And lastly, for those of you that hit that certain income threshold, you are no longer able to invest into a Roth IRA. So it's important to understand that everyone's situation is different. There's not necessarily a right or wrong answer here. There's better options for different scenarios. We just hope that you guys are able to make a more informed decision on your investment options now after watching this video. And remember, the best time to invest is right now. The sooner the better. Starting next week, we're going to be giving you guys our top 3 stock picks in each video. So stay tuned for that. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to comment below. We hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.